Charlotte Whitmore was declared dead on a rainy Friday in July. The official story was brutal, cinematic, perfect for page 6. Masked intruders broke into the $42 million oceanfront mansion on Lily Pond Lane, tied up the staff, shot the lady of the house 3 times in the chest, and vanished with only a few pieces of jewelry that were later recovered in a pawnshop in Newark. The grieving husband, Grayson Whitmore, 44, Harvard Business School, net worth north of $2 billion, gave a tearful press conference on the front steps, voice cracking as he begged the monsters to return his wife's body so he could bury her properly. The monsters never did. Because the monsters were him. And the body, Charlotte's body, was already cooling in the wine cellar behind a false wall she herself had designed 10 years earlier when she renovated the house. Grayson simply hadn't known the wall was there. Charlotte had always been the smarter architect. She waited 47 hours in the dark, breathing through a scuba rebreather, listening to her own memorial on the built-in speakers Grayson had installed so he could hear the ocean from every room. When the medical examiner finally left and the last news van pulled away, she pushed the hidden panel, crawled out covered in her own stage blood, pig's blood and movie-grade coagulant, and took the service tunnel that ran beneath the dunes to the neighboring estate she secretly still owned under an LLC in the Caymans. Phase 1 was complete. Everyone believed Charlotte Whitmore was dead. Phase 2 was just beginning. She cut her hair herself with kitchen shears, dyed it shoe polish black, and paid cash for a facelift in Tijuana from a surgeon who asked no questions when the envelope was fat enough. 3 weeks later, Carla Moreau, a quiet Belgian art advisor with a faint accent and brand new cheekbones, rented the guest cottage on Further Lane for the rest of the summer. The owner never met her in person. Everything was handled through Sotheby's private client services. Money, properly laundered, is the best disguise. Grayson never noticed the cottage was 500 yards from his own bedroom window. Grayson wasted no time playing the grieving widower. 2 weeks after the funeral, an empty casket, 1,000 white roses, Beyoncé sent flowers. He brought Sloane Calder home. 25, leggy, fresh off an NFT drop that made her technically a multimillionaire. She moved into the master suite like she'd been born to it, posting Instagram stories from Charlotte's custom marble bathtub with captions like, "Healing energy only." Charlotte watched every story on a burner phone, sipping rose from the vineyard she still secretly owned in Napa. She zoomed in on Sloane's left hand. There it was, Charlotte's own 22-carat Asher-cut diamond, resized and already on the 3rd finger. She smiled for the first time since the night she died. The house had secrets the way the ocean has salt. When Charlotte renovated it in 2014, she'd been obsessed with Edith Wharton and murder mysteries. She built things just because they were pretty. A priest's hole behind the library paneling, a crawlspace that circled the entire 2nd floor, a dumbwaiter that opened into 3 different rooms, and her favorite, a network of intercom pipes that ran through the walls like veins. Grayson had laughed and called it, "darling overkill." He never realized the intercom system could be used in reverse. Every room could whisper back to whoever held the master key. Charlotte still had the only master key. The haunting began small. A single crystal champagne coupe, one of a set of 12 Baccarat Harcourt flutes Charlotte had shipped from Paris, moved from the dining room to the center of the kitchen island overnight. No fingerprints. The housekeeper swore she'd put them away. Grayson laughed it off as the staff being careless. Sloane posted a TikTok. "Is my new house haunted or do the ghosts just have taste?" Then the temperature in the master bedroom started dropping to 55 degrees no matter how high the thermostat was set. Sloane began sleeping in cashmere socks and one of Grayson's Wharton sweatshirts. She looked adorable. Charlotte hated her for it. One night at 3:07 a.m., the exact time the police report said Charlotte had been shot, every television in the house turned on by itself. The same security camera still of Charlotte's bloodied body on the Moroccan rug filled every screen. Sloane screamed so loudly the Southampton police came. Grayson told them it was a prank by some sicko hacker. He had the whole system replaced the next day. Charlotte had already cloned the new one. She came back into the house on the night of the full moon in August, wearing black silk and soft-soled climbing shoes. The hidden panel behind the Sub-Zero in the pantry still worked perfectly. She moved like smoke. First stop, Sloane's walk-in closet. Charlotte took nothing, left nothing, simply stood among the rows of Birkins and Louboutins and breathed in the scent of the girl who was wearing her life. Then she unscrewed the cap of Sloane's favorite diptyque figuier candle and added 3 drops of an odorless paralytic the Tijuana surgeon had thrown in as a thank-you gift. Non-lethal. Just enough to make the legs stop working for 12 hours. The next morning Sloane woke up on the closet floor, unable to move from the waist down, screaming that she was paralyzed. The ER found nothing. The tabloids went feral. Tech widow's girlfriend cursed by dead wife? Grayson started drinking again. Charlotte escalated. She poisoned the Evian in the gym fridge with a low dose of scopolamine, just enough to make Grayson confess on a hot mic to his lawyer that yes, he'd arranged the whole thing, but Charlotte was never supposed to actually die, just disappear. The lawyer quit the next day and sent the recording anonymously to the FBI's white-collar division in Manhattan. Then came the photographs. Every morning for a week, a new 8x10 glossy appeared on the breakfast table. Charlotte in her wedding dress, Charlotte holding Grayson's face the night he proposed, Charlotte smiling over birthday candles the year she turned 35. No fingerprints, no DNA, no explanation. The last photo was a selfie taken inside the master bedroom mirror while Grayson and Sloane slept. Charlotte's reflection was there, pale and smiling, holding the camera. Grayson's eyes in the photo were open. He was looking straight at her. He stopped sleeping. Labor Day weekend. The house was packed for the annual Whitmore White Party. 500 of Manhattan and Miami's most beautiful people, all of them gossiping about the haunting, while doing lines off Charlotte's original 1970s lucite coffee table. Charlotte waited until 1:13 a.m., when the DJ switched to slow songs and half the guests were drunk or high. She slipped in through the service tunnel wearing a backless white silk gown and the same diamond choker Grayson had given her on their 5th anniversary. No one recognized her. The cheekbones were different, the hair was raven, the eyes were 10 years harder. She looked like money and revenge. She found Grayson by the infinity pool, arguing with his lawyer about the FBI subpoena that had arrived that morning. Sloane was inside having a panic attack because another candle had bled red wax all over her Saint Laurent dress. Charlotte walked straight up to Grayson, pressed a chilled glass of Dom Perignon into his hand and whispered, "You look like you've seen a ghost, darling." He dropped the flute. It shattered across the bluestone. She didn't run. There was no need. The entire party saw it. Grayson Whitmore screaming, clawing at his own face, begging the woman in white to leave him alone. Phones came out. Someone started live streaming. Within 90 seconds the clip was viral. Billionaire freaks out at dead wife's doppelganger. By the time security reached the pool, Charlotte was gone. The white dress folded neatly on a lounge chair with a single note in her handwriting. "You wanted me gone. Be careful what you wish for." The end game was surgical. 2 days later the U.S. Attorney's Office announced charges. Conspiracy to commit murder for hire, insurance fraud, obstruction of justice. Grayson was arrested getting off his helicopter in East Hampton, screaming that his dead wife was framing him. The evidence was overwhelming. The recording, the bank wires to an account in Panama, the original hitman, a former Blackwater contractor named Merrick, who flipped the moment the feds showed him Charlotte's signed affidavit from an undisclosed location. Sloane vanished to Mykonos and was never heard from again. Rumor is she still can't light a fig-scented candle without throwing up. On the day Grayson was sentenced to 45 years in federal prison, Charlotte walked into the Southampton Police Department wearing a simple navy suit and no makeup. She carried a Louis Vuitton document case and a smile that could cut glass. The detective who took her statement was the same one who'd investigated her murder 5 months earlier. He stared at her like she was Lazarus in Louboutins. "Afternoon, Detective Hill," she said, voice like honey over broken glass. "I believe you've been looking for me." She laid out everything. The false wall, the staged blood, the paralytic, the intercom system, the hidden camera she'd installed in every room years ago for insurance purposes. She even handed over the original hard drive, time-stamped, unedited, showing Grayson and Merrick discussing the hit in the wine cellar 2 days before she died. Hill asked the only question that mattered. Why go through all this? You could have just come to us. Charlotte looked at him for a long moment. Because he took my name, my home, my life. I wanted him to know what it feels like to lose everything, one perfect piece at a time. And I wanted the world to watch. Epilogue. 1 year later. The house on Lily Pond Lane sold at auction for $61 million. All cash, anonymous buyer. The new owner gutted it down to the studs, removed every hidden panel, every secret corridor, every whisper pipe. They say nothing strange has happened there since. Charlotte, now legally Charlotte Whitmore again, lives in a glass villa in Mystique with ocean views and no walls anyone can hide behind. She funds shelters for abused women with the proceeds of Grayson's seized assets. Sometimes late at night, she walks barefoot across the sand and raises a glass of vintage Krug to the moon. To ghosts, she says. And somewhere in a federal prison in Pennsylvania, Grayson Whitmore wakes up screaming from a dream where a woman in white stands at the foot of his cot, smiling, always smiling, forever out of reach. He knows she's still there. She always will be.